All right, I'm going to dive in here. Looks like we got a few people still rolling in. Hi there, everyone. Welcome to month one in our Agency Partner Pulse series. This Agency Partner Pulse series is designed for WP Engine agency partners and our agency community. And we're excited to feature the founder of BuyMiles.ai, Andy Peatling. Today, Andy and Brian will be discussing the topic of building custom sites in minutes with AI. And I know he has a lot of wonderful insights to share with y'all. As a reminder, these virtual events will take place each month on the third Wednesday. They'll run on a quarterly cadence, with month one of each quarter being your more traditional webinar style conversation. These will most often be WP Engine led, and we'll provide you with some key updates from our business and just within the WordPress ecosystem. Month two of each quarter will operate as more of a networking opportunity for agencies to share ideas, feedback, and discuss key topics circling the industry. These mixer style sessions will not be recorded to encourage open and honest conversation amongst the group. And then month three, each quarter, we'll spotlight an agency partner within our community, allowing them to share projects they're working on and lessons from the trenches. So thank you all for being here with us for month one as we start up our second quarter of Agency Partner Pulse.
Thank you, Paige, for... Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, I got too excited.
Just gonna introduce you quickly, and give just a couple final housekeeping. Sorry, Brian. My name's Paige. I'm primarily here to be the eyes and ears throughout the presentation while Brian hosts the conversation with Andy. Before we kick off today's webinar, I want to address just a couple housekeeping items. First, a reminder, we are recording this month's webinar. After it's complete, we'll share it out with all registrants via email, along with any helpful decks or links that Andy would like to share. Secondly, should you have any questions for Andy or Brian during the course of the presentation, please feel free to type it into the Q&A section that you should see on your screen. Andy has a lot of great details to cover today, but we do have some time slated for questions at the end. So that should do it. With all of that being said, let's get to the good stuff. I'll hand over the mic to Brian to get the conversation rolling.
Thank you, Paige, and sorry to jump in. Y'all know me, 20 years of WordPress. I love WordPress, and I get super excited about WordPress. And there's a couple of things that are happening in the WordPress ecosystem right now that really have me excited. Ollie by Mike McAllister is definitely one of them, and easily joining at the top of that list is something that several months ago I was like scrolling through Twitter/X, and I saw Andy posting something. And I was like, hey, what's this? Let me go check it out. And there went the rest of my evening. I am very pleased and very excited to have, from what I understand, is the very first live demo of Miles in existence. That's really, really exciting. Andy Peatling, for those who have been in WordPress forever, you may know him as the founder and creator of BuddyPress, which was the social network plugin for WordPress from years ago. But he is now running and leading and founding and squashing bugs for me a product called Miles. And I am very pleased, Andy, to ask you to come join me on stage and introduce yourself, and we'll go from there. You'll need to use the on-stage button in the lower right-hand corner to get yourself onto stage. Yes. Perfect.
A little bit awesome. Of How are you doing? Thanks for having me. Got started.
Yeah, so as we all know, the internet is full of bugs and weird things that happen. And so we joked earlier, as we do a live demo of Miles, it's very possible, everybody, that we'll see what happens. We have full faith and trust in what he's building. But as always, a reminder, weird things happen. So I'm going to actually ask you, before we start going into the live demo, give us a little bit of background as to kind of what Miles is, why you decided to build it, because you're mostly doing it, from my understanding, on your own, and it's a huge project with serious implications in the WordPress/AI space. And so let's set the table with that first before we just jump right in.
Oh, sure thing. Yeah. I think I've been around the WordPress space for maybe as long as you, maybe not quite as long, but 17, 18 years, and just really embedded in WordPress, love the product, just seen it grow over those decades. And I felt like there's this huge wave of AI, a huge wave of agents, coding agents coming into play, and kind of the landscape is shifting. And it really excited me to think about what a product would look like that could really help people with WordPress and AI and kind of fuse the two together. There's obviously a ton of movement around static sites and other products around AI that can build websites, but WordPress has so much legacy. It's got a wonderful community, a huge base of amazing plugins, existing really great themes. You mentioned Ollie there as well. Like, there's some really solid themes in the ecosystem. So my goal really was to spend time thinking about how I could build a product that could kind of harness everything that WordPress provides, what the ecosystem provides, and be on the bleeding edge of what AI agents and AI models can provide, and blend the two together and see if I could come up with something that could help WordPress professionals, agencies, just accelerate their work and maybe even in some circumstances level up the things that they can do with WordPress and what's possible with WordPress using the tool Miles that I built. So really to define Miles just kind of ahead of time before we go into the demo, it's really it's a WordPress specialist. Miles is an agent that specializes really in working with WordPress. It knows WordPress deeply. It knows how to build well with WordPress. And it's something you can work directly with Miles in WP Admin. You can allow Miles to work and kind of get to know your coding agent, if that's Claude, Codex, Cursor, whatever it might be. And the idea is it will level up your workflows. In no way does Miles kind of want to change the way you work with WordPress. It's there to integrate in the way that you already work. So you can plug it into any flows you have in WP Admin. You can plug it into your coding agent and the existing flows you have there. And it provides kind of extra functionality like approval flows. It provides the ability to roll back changes, and also integrates great design taste and integration with the block editor. So it builds natively in blocks within Gutenberg, the block editor itself, something that you'll find that standard coding agents might struggle with. So you can bring Miles in as a specialist to help with that. So and my goal really was not to ultimately trap people in a new AI page builder, a new kind of very specific way of working. Miles will work with how you work, and then you can export anything that Miles makes or take it to any host, any site, any environment, whether that's production, staging, development, wherever you might want to take the work that Miles does, you can carry on and continue to use Miles wherever you want as well. So and that's the product. We'll show it. I mean, I think the ultimate goal is to help you improve your economics, and that means, can you build more sites more quickly? Can you build more integrated sites with WordPress in a different way? Can you improve the level of design? Like, can Miles help you level up your work, but also improve the speed of your work and get you to show clients design sooner, show them multiple options that they might really like sooner, and then ultimately go through and build out sites that can be constructed with WordPress in blocks and shipped to clients faster, and ultimately get you to ship more sites, more income, more revenue, that kind of thing. So it'll really help you and your business work with WordPress. That's my spiel. I'm happy to give a demo, Brian. I don't know how you want to kick that off.
I got one more, and what you just said is great for agencies in particular, because they're looking to scale. They've got different clients that have different needs and whatever. I have one more table setting thing before we just kick this off, because I'm sure everyone's waiting to see the real thing. Right before I discovered Miles, I was in Claude playing around and having Claude do design mockups and things like that. And I was like, wow, AI is really good. Like, I prompted into existence this design. But then I was like, okay, this is just an HTML file with embedded JavaScript and CSS. Now I have to code it. Now, of course, because of my background, that's easier for me to do than most. But then when I saw Miles, and this is the part that I think most people in the WordPress ecosystem need to hear, is not only do you just prompt the design into existence, then you just click a button and then it puts it into WordPress for you, like creates the theme, establishes the theme JSON. That's the part that I think makes Miles stand apart. So I'm just going to get out of the way. Andy and I have kind of put together like a soft prompt that we're going to build a site, and I'm going to let him drive it. And then, towards the end of some of this, maybe we can, go into the audience and see if anybody wants to kind of throw a zinger at us or have something fun for us to prompt to like get it to do a thing. So without further ado, Andy, it's your show to run.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Screen, 1 second. Okay. Let's see if that works.
We can see it.
You can see it. Okay, so let me start by saying you can spin up a WordPress site with Miles quickly and easily. There's actually, if you want to experiment, there's no need to get set up on your computer. You can just go to Buy Miles. You get this dashboard, and these are actually just sandboxes that allow you to spin up a WordPress site and just test and work with Miles and kind of see what it can do for you. And then if you find a good flow or you find a good design, you can then bring it to whatever environment you want. So I'm going to start, and these are some of the sites I've been working on already. I'm going to start a new site. It'll give you like the typical prompt field, but also show you that you can also download the plugin, run it on your own WordPress site. Or also give you the command to integrate it directly into your coding agent. I'm going to concentrate in this demo only on the sandbox kind of standard flow for Miles, but there is, and I will just bring up real quickly before we get started, there is an ability to work within coding agents. I want to be really clear about that. If you're doing a lot of work in I guess you can't see that. Let me switch. 1 sec. I just wanted to show that really off the top of the... Actually, I guess it's not gonna. 1 second here. Okay, I'll share the whole screen and then you can see that. So this is one session I did earlier in Codex, and you can see that Codex can work with Miles. It can go back and forth and have a conversation, and it can actually, the agents can work together, so it can make recommendations and say, oh, I think this is the best design. Let's work through this, help you with your brief. You can drop in documents, assets, whatever you might want to do, and work together with Miles to do that. I wanted to be clear about that. I'm going to show you one flow, but there obviously is there's a few different flows, and one of them being encoding agents. Okay, so I'm going to start with a prompt. Brian loves real estate agents, so I've got realtors, so I'm going to go with a luxury real estate prompt. He's been working well with those, so we're going to start there. So Jane Trippier, luxury real estate in Miami, Florida, amplify personal brand, show listings, sold properties, bio, contact form, the typical stuff you'd want on a website. And you can drop in inspiration here. You can add a website link. You can upload your assets. You can upload any client brief documents. You could do that too to kind of build out the initial prompt. But I'm going to start with something simple to show you the flow.
Hey, Andy, can we just get the browser onto the screen now? I know you switched over to show us the claw thing really quickly, but is there a way we can just see this a little bit bigger? Let's do that real
absolutely.
quick.
Let me do that.
Amazing. That'll be helpful for the replay too.
Yeah. Okay, does that work?
Yep.
Excellent. And I want to call out something here. Miles can generate a completely custom theme for you based on your exact needs, but it can also work with any existing, or I shouldn't say any, it can work with specific popular existing block themes. So Ollie, Spectral One, Frost, Owner in 2025. You can use that as the base theme and it will make a child theme for you to build on top of. So you can use all existing patterns and anything that those themes provide. So I'm going to start with a basic theme, a Miles theme, because that's kind of the standard flow. And up front, it's going to read your prompt. It's going to ask you questions. It wants to find out, Miles wants to find out what specifically you want from the site, refine kind of the back and forth, refine the final brief for the website that's going to produce. And then, come up with some questions here. So let's see how this goes. First question, who's Jane's ideal client? We'll say local Miami buyers upgrading their home. And you can choose multiple if you want as well. So let's go ahead and do this. And you'll notice this is not kind of a standard type in responses. It's actually going to ask you questions and give you options. Sometimes it may ask you if you want to type, but often it gives you options to select. Does Jane have an existing website? So here it'll actually ask, do you want to provide assets? I'm just going to say starting fresh for now. And of course you can drop them in as I mentioned before. Okay. And it'll ask you, what sort of visual direction. I'm going to say dark and dramatic. Do you have any preference, Brian?
I love it. I love it.
Dark and dramatic. Let's try that. I think that works well for luxury usually. Okay, and you can see it's giving feedback, kind of responding to what you say. Let's say
do all of them.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So the goal here is to build up a brief, kind of something that's sent to Miles ultimately that gives enough detail for it to make something as close as possible to the final thing that you want. The worst thing is wasting tokens and coming up with something that doesn't really get close to matching what you want. So here's the website brief it's created, and it'll go through and it's kind of expanded on what I've originally given, outlined the goals, social proof, audience, tone, and you can do whatever you want here. You can edit anything. You can delete it if you wanted to and put something new in. You can edit any point, but I'm going to approve this and just keep moving. So this is the point where Miles is going to take the brief. It's going to think deeply about what kind of designs match the brief that you provided. Like we've talked about luxury, real estate, what kind of imagery, what kind of content. It's going to think that entirely through, and it's going to present you with 4 very distinct design options that you can say, yeah, I like that one, or this one is in the direction of what I want, but let's add X, Y, and Z. It'll come up. It'll also prompt you to say, do you want some more images? Do you want cleaner? It'll give you, based on what you've provided, it'll give you different options to refine. So it takes a little while to think through. It really likes to think deeply in order to kind of come up with something that that matches the exact needs that you have.
All right, so I'll jump in now and give a little bit of fun commentary here while we're waiting. This is what I call the Christmas morning moment, where I will have an idea, I will prompt it, I will approve the brief, I will hit the button, and then this will happen, and then I'll go get a snack or go do something to kill time, because I'm sitting here waiting with anticipation to see what these look like. Now, and we can get into this later, but I see different use cases for Miles, spanning from one way of doing things all the way to like a full build way of doing things. And Andy and I've kind of talked back and forth about, oh, there we go. That was quick. So this is the moment where, like, as a designer, I'm like, okay, this is where my design inspiration. Now I get to see something that would have taken me forever to probably come up with and have it come back in seconds, literally. Okay, so let's take it away.
Yeah, so we're at a point now where, it's given the 4 options. You can go through, and Miles likes to include animations, so you'll see that these are animating in as you look at them in a larger version. It tries to give you, it knows the design, it said dark and kind of luxury, so it's gone with gold and dark across most of them, but it likes to give you different layouts. That's the ultimate goal. Like often AI will give you very samey layouts over and over again. So with Miles, I've tried to allow it to kind of be very creative in terms of the layout. So this is the point where you would say, okay, let's pick a design, or you could nudge another round and say, like, I want a bolder typography, more coastal colors, full bleed. And it would take that that feedback and then essentially make you 2 more, and you can continue to go as many times as you want. To keep it moving, I think I'm just going to select. What do you think, Brian? Should we just keep it moving and select one?
Yeah, 1 or 4. I'll let you. 1 or 4. Both of those are calling my name. I think I kind of like the idea of 4. It looks like a little more unique, but Erica says 1. So if you haven't pushed the button already, let's go with 1. Okay, let's go with 1. I do like 4 as well. Something about big type, right? You're a fan of big type, kind of draws the attention. But here's the thing. Really quickly, while we're waiting for this to then do its thing, you still have access, and I do this all the time, where if I say 1 and then it puts out the full page design, which we'll see here in a second, I'm like, okay, that's not what I was hoping for, or it's not quite what I want. You can then go back and say, what would 4 would have looked like, right? Whether you can then select that and then see what design it comes up with. And if that's better, then you just roll with 4 at that point.
Exactly. It'll give you a gate. It'll say, it'll build the whole full site. It'll say, is this what you want? And then you can say, no, actually, I want to go back and I'm going to pick a different one. You can generate a new version. So even if you change your mind further down the line, you can go ahead and regenerate. Also, the beauty of using a sandbox is you can just spin up a new site and go through the whole thing again and even bring screenshots of what it did in this run to kind of influence the next run, because you can spin up WordPress sites so quickly and then export when you're done. It makes that opportunity possible. Okay, so here we go. It's going to start writing the page content, and it just starts essentially with text and image placeholders. It needs to get the content nailed down before it can kind of mix up and position the design. So you'll see it kind of render in one column to begin with. It'll bring in the form fields as well, the things that we've asked for. Go ahead.
Andy, I asked you this, and I just want to make sure we say this on the recording. So the images that are generated that we're seeing right now, right? Because to some extent, you're like, hey, that's actually a really nice looking image. Maybe I would use that for a client. What are the licensing, either restrictions or freedoms with images that are generated through Miles?
Yeah, so the licensing of the imaging is exactly the same as any other image generation. It's using, under the hood, using both Google image generation and OpenAI image generation. So you could defer to the licensing of those models in terms of the images. I'm simply, I'm passing that service through in terms of the image generation. So as far as I understand AI image generation, that's kind of there's no like really well-defined definition of that. But what it's not doing is pulling from stock libraries that have restrictive licenses. So there's no defined license in terms of AI generated images. So from my understanding and my research, you're free to use them.
But you're on the hook. So like if an image generated and pulls in like a Coca-Cola ad or something like that, there is some semblance, right? There's always human in the loop in all of AI, that you're still on the hook for publishing something. Even you're like, oh, well, it was generated through Miles. Well, you're now using a brand trademark thing. So always just be aware of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up. You're on the hook for what, it's you're in control of what the AI generates and what you put out there, and that's on you to determine whether that's okay or not to put out. Miles will do the best job it can to not do that, but there's always a chance. With AI, it's non-deterministic. It's not always going to be the same every time, which makes live demos very nerve-wracking, but it's
for sure.
doing a good job so far.
We have a question in the chat, and while we're watching this generate, why don't we just hit this question? Are we able to hook up Miles with Figma, Adobe XD, or any other design tool and have Miles make a WordPress site copying the design to 90% above accuracy, probably like MCP or something like that?
So the first release that's coming up, it does not have that. It will design itself like based on the brief. But I have some experimentation with Figma and with design tools where it can use that as influence. The best situation right now is to drop design assets into Miles up front. So you might have imagery, colors, a design system, whatever it might be, and allow it to use that to generate the initial design. But like actual matching of designs, not yet, but it's certainly on my radar and something that I want to address as Miles progresses.
Very cool. Fascinating to watch this being like built and styled in what would take days, like slapping HTML on a page and then saying, okay, now how are we going to style this and how are we going to style? Oh, Miles just did it and it did it better than I could, like is how I think all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, if Miles can accelerate your design work, that's the goal, right? It's like, can it make something that I would be proud putting my name on, or at least getting me 80% of the way there, and I can then put my flair and touch on top of. Can it help you move faster? And that's and originally this was streaming code, and it just does not have the same impact as seeing Miles actually. Is seeing it come together in real time. One thing I want to note is I have a new version coming out early next week, and it's pretty much twice as fast as this. This is it feels really slow to me right now, but it's actually a lot faster in the new version. In terms of designing manually, obviously it's significantly faster, but testing locally on the new version, it's really like it's quick.
Okay, so while we're still waiting for this to happen, let's kind of talk through a little bit, like from the business perspective. So Miles operates on a credit or token-based system, right? So every action, everything you prompt it to do requires tokens to be used. Now, I know you have significantly improved and lowered the cost of every single thing. And I will say this is for the agencies and the freelancers and those building businesses for websites for other people. And Andy, close your ears when I say this. It's criminal how inexpensive it is to generate designs of the quality that come out of it. I'll show something later that I designed with Miles. That's a live site. We're talking like $20 to design something that you probably would have had to pay $5,000 for back in the day. Now, there's caveats there and creative ways to sort of use that. But talk to us a little bit, just kind of around like the business and sort of the cost perspective and how this is available to people.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, there's a token cost to Miles in terms of me as a business. So what I try to do is make Miles as efficient as possible. One of the big, I think, selling points for Miles is it can do things much more cheaply than you would pay for a kind of foundational agent, maybe paying for a codex plan or even API pricing in terms of tokens on foundational models. I've made Miles as efficient as absolutely possible by really focusing on WordPress design and what needs to be done in order to make good design. There are subscription plans. It starts at $39 a month, and that will give you access to Miles. You can essentially do as much as you want within the token cap. $39 will get you 2 or 3 brand new designs per month. And depending on how much you refine, that will go up and down. Miles also edits after the fact, will help you install plugins, actually help you manage the site and make it real. So that obviously continues to cost more tokens. So depending on how much you want to do, there are plans that go up from there. And we have a top level agency plan that also will allow you to share tokens across people in your agency. You can have basically unlimited seats and share those credits across employees.
And so as Andy mentioned earlier, Miles currently in beta. We will have at the end of this replay or this webinar a special link for you to use to sign up for Miles and bypass the approval process, which means you would get immediate access to Miles and experimenting and the ability to then essentially do what we're doing right now in a matter of minutes. So that is on its way. But in the meantime, let's continue to watch the design being done.
Yeah, sure thing. You'll notice it's still, I'm still working through a few things. This design's pretty good. There's a couple of overlapping issues here I've noticed, but again, it can get you really far. And then once you're in the editor, you can easily adjust anything that's not quite to your liking. And over time, I'm influencing Miles in terms of fixing overlapping, fixing anything any visual regressions that might come up. So you get the option here, make it editable, try another design. I'm just going to go ahead and make it editable. This process takes a little while. Brian, how are we doing for time? Do you want me to switch to a generated version already, or should we wait it out?
Let's wait it out. Let's talk it through just a little bit. So the design was done. So in the upper right-hand corner, there's a link that says view site. So what this would do is pop open like a new tab. And this shows you like the flat version, what I kind of talked about earlier, right? The Claude, like the HTML version of it. This is just a non-built into WordPress thing yet. So it's kind of 2 steps. And I'll stop here because this is where I generally stop because I'm capable of building my own stuff. I want to use Miles for the design capabilities because this designs great things. And so I'll stop here and use that and then go build from there. Now,
you can download it here as well. You can download the package of kind of assets. Yeah.
Yes. And then you could host that somewhere and send that to a client to view, that sort of a thing. But what Andy just did was he clicked a button. Now it's being taken from that flat version and it's being built into WordPress and using WordPress core blocks, and it's generating the theme. So this is actually going to soon take us into the block and site editor to then do some things.
Yes, exactly. So that's essentially, exactly as you said, it's designed in a flat way, in a way that can be moved into WordPress more easily. And now it's generating the page sections. It'll also generate patterns. So every section of the site will become a reusable pattern that you can then provide to clients if you wanted to, add to other pages. It'll create the theme JSON, which is all the design tokens that's needed for the design. Anything that kind of goes above and beyond like animations and some kind of more intricate styling. It will add some custom CSS to the section level. You can still edit that in the editor, but the important point there is anything that you use in the UI in the block editor will override those styles. So there's no problem with clients kind of getting mixed up with CSS. You can still use you can override any kind of margin or gradients that might have been added outside of the editor with the actual UI as well. So it was important to me to make it as close and as strict with the editor as possible. And I think it's there. It's really coming along.
So one of my favorite prompts, and then maybe while we're doing this, Andy, if you click on view site, will it be able to then pull up that static so we can scroll up and down and see the whole design while it's building?
Yeah, I need to be able to switch tabs. I'm not actually sure how to do that on the screen.
Oh, shoot, that's right. Well, maybe you could just scroll up and down the left side with the design as we see it, but just so we can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at here. So I have a theme. I have my own motion system, my own animation system built into it. So you can even build into the prompt saying, hey, any animation, use fade in up, specify the distance, the timing, and then it'll use that instead, which is what I often do.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've scrolled already, so all the animation's already happened. But it will fade in each section. And one thing you can do as well, if you have, that's great, you have your own animation system. You can also say to Miles, like when you've got it in the block theme, like I want this title faded in a more intricate way, or in it more, by letter, it will build the CSS and the JavaScript that's needed to do that. So you can, after the fact, alter that.
We have some questions in the sidebar while we're still building this out. Let's maybe get to those questions. Does it or can it use ACF blocks / fields when creating the blocks in the back end?
So what it'll do to begin with, because it doesn't, I don't want Miles to finish now. I don't want Miles to assume that you want to build the site in any one particular way, especially as a WordPress professional and agency. It'll, is that okay? Of course, the live demo has had a couple of problems, but we can adjust that. So yeah, everything else looks pretty good. It's just going to reload. So yeah, so here you can see it's put the images in, the blocks are in place. Everything else is looking pretty good. Just had a couple of issues with the hero. Yeah, everything else is looking okay. So yeah, let's get I'll answer that question in just 1 second. I just want to show that we've got named blocks, so it will use real blocks here. And you can go ahead and roof row. Yeah, it'll go ahead and it'll use stacks. It'll use group blocks, whatever it needs, grids. So it will build with standard blocks to start with. And that includes actually building dummy versions with core blocks of like forms, any sort of, for example, like the consultation area. It'll also build in kind of just core blocks. You see it's made a grid here. The idea then is you can say to Miles, it'll give you a site plan. So it'll say, set up listings, wire up the contact form. You can hit start, and it's going to go ahead and take that design with the core blocks and use custom fields, use custom post types, look for plugins that are going to work with that design, and do the integration jobs to actually take it from something that's a dummy version in blocks into something that actually works. So the reason I didn't want to do that straight away on the initial build is because one, it would take much longer. Two, it would burn a lot more credits for something that you might want to do a very specific way. And so with this, you get the option. See, it's actually giving you the next steps here. You have the option to say, yes, Miles, go ahead and do that for me. Or I'm actually just going to take this theme with the blocks. I'm going to make some tweaks, some fixes, and then do the integration myself. Or you can ask Miles to do it. So either way, it will actually, it'll provide that opportunity without burning a ton of credits up front.
So John asks, will it create things? And I think he was in our DMs earlier because we talked about this, I think. Will it create things like custom post types for property listings in the example, or is it purely design and layout rather than new site architecture?
So yeah, so the new version I've got coming out would go ahead and it would look at these property listings, and it would understand that it needs to create a custom post type, perhaps for properties, the custom fields to allow people or clients to edit and edit the data for the properties. It would then do its absolute best to take the design that it's produced and flip it with a query block, flip it so that it uses the styles that's already created, the design tokens, and make it real, essentially. That's sort of how I've phrased it. It's like it'll produce you in blocks something that you can work with, but then it will provide you with tasks to make it real in terms of taking it and then integrating it. So yes, it will. The version that is on beta right now will have a go at that. It probably won't do a particularly good job. I'm stepping kind of its ability up over time, but the version launching next week is much, much more powerful in terms of using custom fields, using custom post types, and installing plugins to make things real.
Andy, can you go into the site editor so we can kind of just click through like things like the color palette and like the fonts and things like that, just so we can, because what we're looking at now is like the WordPress page. It's all block editor stuff. But just so everybody can see here what it actually has generated beyond just the page, but the theme and the architecture itself.
Is it, you just want to look at the styles, or you want it like the palette?
Yeah, so like it generated the palette. So it creates a theme, it creates a theme JSON file, and it adds all the colors that you would need and the fonts.
So it'll add, colors are done. Typography should be set as well. Common, Jost. Set up the headings, buttons, font size preset should all be there too. So this is all the representation of the theme JSON. Shadows doesn't do, actually, yes, it has set a few different size shadows. Sets the content widths as well to allow for different content widths for mobile and tablet as well. It'll sort that out. It'll collapse down. So it's got a couple of issues in the collapse, but it's again, it's a way to get the thing that I want to kind of emphasize is it's going to get you in the block editor. It's going to get you, I would say right now, 80% of the way to accelerate, kind of take away that kind of initial build work and then put you in a position where you can either ask Miles to make fixes. We could say, this hero is not right. Can you fix it up? And it would go ahead and pull that over and sort it out. Or you can go ahead and just edit yourself, because we're in the block editor. You're a WordPress pro agency. You know how to manipulate there. Over time, as it continues to improve, the tweaks that are needed will reduce. I'm actually surprised this has happened. I haven't seen that for a long time, but of course we're on a live demo, so of course it happens now. But we could do that. So you don't be afraid to ask Miles to help you with that, and or go in and do it yourself, because it's just WordPress.
So then you show this to a client and they're like, we want pure black and our gold is a different hex code. Really all you do is then go into the prompt on the right-hand side and say, update all black or whatever the variable is to 000 and change all gold hex code to whatever. And then like seconds later, then it updates.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I mean, I don't know a gold hex code, so I'm just going to change the gold to white. And then it would go ahead and it would look through the design tokens. It'll look at anything that is possibly outside of the design tokens and edit those. It'll go through, it'll update. So here we go, it's going to update. It's going to read the global styles, read the design tokens, find gold accent colors.
And then similarly with, we just saw it all turn white right there. And then similarly with fonts, somebody says, I don't like sans serif, or I don't like a serif font, I want to be super modern. Then you could just say update all use of Cormorant to something that's, just make it all Yoast or something like that, right?
Absolutely. You could, in exactly the same way, it will read the design tokens, it will switch out the fonts. It's going through, it's being robust. It's going to go through and check any custom CSS, it's checking the design tokens, it's making sure it's got everything. I think it's pretty much got everything by the looks of it.
So this is the point where I would then go back to original design concept 4 and then send it on its own way and then compare these two side by side to see which one I actually liked full version better, right? Like, and you could do it with all 4, or you could generate 4 new ones. That's like a newer feature. Like if none of those 4 feel like they're jiving, then you say create 4 more design concepts for me, which then it does.
Absolutely, and you could also go back. I'll stop this for now because it's pretty much done. You could also go back and say, okay, I've got this design. Let's just spin up another site, and you could take screenshots. You could alter your prompt. You could experiment even more. You could generate another site because you're in a sandbox environment. you can spin up as many sites as you want just to experiment with. And then of course, when you're done, you can then go ahead and export to wherever you want to use that.
All right. So go ahead. I was going to mention something, but I'll let you go ahead.
Well, the one thing I just wanted to highlight was that you could also get a lot of AI tools, what they'll do is they'll take a design and if you ask for something new, they'll regenerate the whole thing. So one thing I wanted to highlight is that Miles can actually use the block editor. So let's say we wanted to add 3 more. What are we going to call this? It's to the active listings. Let's see what it does for this. It can actually read the blocks and it can read the design and it can go ahead and manipulate the block editor to add new elements rather than having to go through and regenerate the whole section. So here we go. It's gonna look at the page outline. It's gonna find the existing 3. This worked great in my non-live demo, so we'll see. We'll see if it works. Yeah, here we go.
There we go.
Okay, so first of all, it's just gonna go ahead and duplicate the blocks. So it's taken the last one there and done some duplicates. And then it's going to go through each one. It's going to say, okay, we need a new image. Of course, you could provide your own assets. You could say, I've got a PDF with an image with all the details of its property, drop it into the form. It would then go ahead and make a new property. And if you've got this in a custom field or a custom post type, it could also fill that out too and go ahead and do that. So you can see right now it's actually just going to generate new property images and insert those too. That's it. This saves you a ton of tokens. It saves you a ton of credits because if I had to regenerate the entire property listing, you're basically regenerating all the big ones up here and the small ones here in order to get 3 new ones. But actually with the editor, because it can manipulate via the editor APIs, it can go through and do that without having to touch any of the others and save you a ton of tokens. So you can see it's put in a new image, new prices. Because I didn't define any of that data, it's just essentially making it up.
All right, so here's a fun thing. So let's just say that you present this to Jane, and she's like, "This is great," or for the example here, not feeling it. I'm going to do something different, or have you generate a different design. Now, what you can do is you can duplicate this site so that you keep Jane's intact in case she ever wants to come back to it. You could duplicate this site and say, redo this in Aspen, Colorado for Bob, and then all of a sudden, it'll take that and just basically Colorado-ize, that's a phrase, the entire design where it'll replace Bob, it'll replace copy, it'll replace all the images with just literally just the prompt, like, replace this with that person's name and make it for a person in, Colorado or whatever.
Absolutely. So what is your flow there? Do you go back out to create a new site or do you kind of reverse? Oh, you said you duplicated it.
I would duplicate it in case I don't want in case Jane came back and said, hey, let me see that again. And you're like, oh, shoot, I overrid it with Bob, right? Like I would just duplicate it. So that way I had like a copy of the Jane project that we originally set up. And then I could create another one for Bob. So
you go ahead and duplicate like this.
Yeah.
And because these are sandboxes that spin up really quickly, you can basically get a brand new site immediately. Yeah. So we could I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's a great use case for duplication. It's like, I like this, but I don't want to ruin it. By experimenting, you can then go and experiment on a new site with that as the base, and go in and then, exactly as you said, change all the fonts, change the colors, and you can even go back to the hero selection. So instead of losing your brief or having to go through the brief process, you could go back to the hero selection process and generate new heroes and take your design from there. So that's the beauty of the sandbox, is that you don't have to have that environment in terms of getting set up. So here we are, exactly where we were. I could go back now. It's going to regenerate all 4, but if I hit retry on here, I'd probably have to start, I'd have to start with the brief on a new one. This does work. I'm in the middle of switching how this works, but typically this would flip out onto the, do we have the, no, we just have the preview. This would flip out onto the hero selection process, and then you could continue on. But that's actually in the new version. This is not alive right now. It's not going to go ahead and do that. You'd start with the brief and on a duplicate site. Yeah, do we have any other questions, Brian? Anything else that, let me go back to the original.
Yeah, go back to the original. I was gonna walk through this, but in the spirit of saving time, I won't. So in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see there's an export little button there. It's the first link. Now, for anybody who's using local, right? Like, so what you've generated here is now inside of, it's like online on the web inside of your Miles account. Now, let's just say Jane's like, hey, I love this. Like, and so you want to take it out of the environment that it's in, which is, I think, basically a WordPress playground instance. And you can hit download, and you can see there, you can download a local blueprint. So if you click that, you get a zip file that goes onto your desktop. You can literally slide that into the local app and have the exact same site duplicated on local. I did it last night to test, and I could do it here if we have a few minutes. It literally will just replicate the entire editable site in like 30 seconds.
Do you want to show that, or I don't know with my window if it's gonna.
Yeah, let's. If you want to stop sharing, I have this all set up. I can definitely try this.
Sure thing.
Now I need to figure out how do I share my screen. Allow.
The beauty of the blueprint and exporting via that zip is it takes everything. It takes your database, your themes, your plugins, anything that you've set up and built on that sandbox will come along for the ride on that zip, and you can export it directly into local, and it'll have the full site, and then you can use that locally, continue to work. You can work with Miles as well.
Thumbs up. Can everybody see my screen here real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is as Andy mentioned, luxury real estate site that I play with. So I have this design done. It's built into WordPress. You can see the whole editor here. So I'm just going to hit export. I'm going to download the blueprint, which you can see it then downloads. I'm going to pull open local. I'm going to go to my downloads, Sienna Vale. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to call this Sienna Vale, a fictitious real estate person. It's now going to import. So it's basically importing the blueprint taken down from Miles. Takes me longer to put in a password than import the entire site. It's doing its thing. We're still less than maybe 30 seconds. Now I'm going to go into WP admin. I remember what this was. And all of a sudden, I'm going to click out of here. Now, inside of my local instance, I have that site that was fully built into its own theme, generated with Miles. And now I can play locally. Now, there's no syncing right now between what you have inside of your Miles account and what now I have locally. So this is now what I can build with and play with if I want to get a little more behind the hood, under the hood and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I thought about the sync. It gets difficult with bigger sites, but the main way to think about the sandbox is kind of like it's essentially a playground where you can get to the point where you're happy or you want to continue, and then you can bring it to your environment wherever that might be, and continue to work. And it will bring Miles with it as well, so you can continue to work with Miles, or you can work manually, however you want to work. Again, like I don't want to interrupt your workflows. It's designed to work with whatever you work with.
Perfect. So we have about 10 minutes left. I'm going to share a link of something that in full transparency, I'm using Miles as like a designer for me. I can design, but Miles is wonderful. So, and does it much quicker than me. So this is just an example of a design that I had Miles generate, and I iterated and tweaked kind of on the fly. And so it's not straight pixel for pixel, but the link that I put here in the sidebar is an example of, 90% of this design you see here is generated and ideas from Miles. And so I'm using it as like an incubator for design ideas for products that I'm building and things like that. So you can, as an agency, use it to build for clients, or if you're a product person. And I was saying about this earlier, if I had Miles when we were doing Genesis and StudioPress stuff and building child themes, it would have changed my life. So Studio Press would have been a store of like 5,000 designs, because I would have just every morning woke up and had Miles just generate a new thing, skin it for Genesis, put it for sale, that sort of a thing. So there's so many different ways in which Miles can be used. I like to give Andy the feedback on how I use it, which is very different from how other people may use it. So
it's a really important point, because I've tried to build Miles as an end-to-end flow or do the whole thing. And for some people, that's perfect. They want the end-to-end from start to finish. But for a lot of folks out there, they might just want the design piece, or they might just want the convert to blocks, or they might just want the ability to quickly set up plugins or set up the custom fields. And you can use the pieces of Miles that you want to use. It's more difficult in the website end-to-end flow, but with the skill that you can use, the Miles skill that you can use with your coding agent, it will pick and choose which pieces that it wants. You can tell it just use Miles to do X, Y, and Z, and it will do that. So you don't have to go through the whole flow if you don't want to.
So we do have some more Q&As. I was just looking in the chat, and now I realized that in the Q&A tab, there are some more. So yes, I will echo Erica's comment about no official partnership between WP Engine and Miles, other than two friends that work for their own things, just trying to bring together something of value to the WordPress community system. Let me go back to the top. Can this create illustrated assets? Does Miles have the capability of generating illustrations, or maybe charts or graphs or things like that?
You could be really specific about that in the instruction. It would absolutely do that. But if you say I want an illustrated website design, it's going to fit the generated assets to that requirement, and you'll find that it should do that quite well.
Can we manually edit the design to refine, polish specific details before sending it to? And Scott's question is really what I wanted to do, because I never wanted to burn credits until I was fully fine with the design. So you understand the question?
Yeah, I mean, the designs that it's making are simply block themes. So if you know how to edit a block theme, if you know how to edit the files, you can download the package. If it's before conversion and it's just the HTML version, then yeah, I did quickly highlight earlier in the video, you can download that package and make edits, anything you want to do. So yeah, you can absolutely refine that. Yes, you can do that. Yeah.
So you can do it in the chat before, because I don't think maybe this was the case before. Like you'd see a design and you would either have the option of like completely redesigning everything or shipping it to WordPress. Like, is there now an interim where you're like, hey, before we ship to WordPress, like, can we tweak some colors or change out a few things just to make sure I like this before I say go?
Yeah, so it's specific edits before you switch to blocks. My answer would be no. But what you can do is say, go back and then give a refinement instruction and say, I liked this design, but I wanted X, Y, Z different, and then get it to regenerate those static assets. But in terms of like getting the static assets and saying I need to change this, then Miles does not do that. It offsets all that. It wants to edit when it's in blocks, when it's in theme JSON, from that point onwards.
Next question. So if we were to use a Bootstrap 5 WordPress theme like Understrap, would Miles make a Bootstrap site, or does Miles use its own architecture to make the sections, etc.?
Yeah, when Miles builds its own theme, it's going to create its own theme JSON. It's going to create its own block asset, use core blocks in the actual pages, and create some custom CSS that use the design tokens. It's not going to look at a different way of building themes. It's essentially building with block themes. And I showed you at the start the list of parent themes, block themes that would work. It knows how to work with them and create child themes. But no, at this point, if you want to output anything outside of that, it's not going to do that. It's going to stick to just the way to make block themes.
Perfect. Paige, do you happen to have that link, Andy? Andy, is it time where we can share the link for
Sure.
folks to sign up?
Yeah.
If you don't have that page, I can go grab that really quickly. Actually, no. Hang on a second.
No,
you got it?
I can grab it.
Amazing. So Paige is going to put, right now, like I said, Miles is in closed beta, which means you kind of get into a queue. Andy reviews it and adds people as he's able to. In this case, he's given us the privilege of going immediately in. So the link that is now in the chat should allow you to sign up. Thank you very much for sending that there through Paige. And you should be able to get in and play and potentially, and I would encourage you, well worth the money to sign up for some of the plans. One of the plans, you can love, there's a thing called top up, which means like if I'm on the $39 a month plan and I don't need to go to a larger plan, but like a couple days left before my credits renew, if I just need a few more thousand or something like that, you can top up and just kind of buy it off the shelf. Or you can kind of go up and down, upgrade, downgrade as you need.
It's month to month, so yeah, there's no long-term commitment. Yeah, the one thing I would emphasize is give it a go, see if it works for you. There's a feedback form in the bottom left. If there are things that don't quite work right or don't quite work for you, I'd love the feedback because it's still in beta, and I'm improving it every day. I've got a big new release next week. Lots of bug fixes, lots of improvements to the build phase of Miles, yeah, it's going to keep improving, and feedback is helpful for me. Like it allows me to focus the product on the needs of the people that want to use it. So.
I want to make sure I didn't miss a Q&A question before we sort of wrap up here. So feel free to like repost it in the chat or the Q&A or a page if you see that I had missed any in particular here. I thought I kind of covered most of them. And just for what it's worth, there is a screen inside of your account that shows you the usage, like on a graph perspective, but also like an itemized usage. Like, so when you generate an initial design, it'll have a line that says, 615 credits used. So you could actually do the math, and I've done this, where I would have a generated design, and then I would see how many tokens it cost, and then I would divide it by the plan, and I would say, this incredible design just cost me $8.15. Like literally, that's what we're talking about here. So.
Yeah, it's funny. The world of AI is, and that's me doing a lot of work to increase the efficiency as well, because it helps me. It helps me as building a business. If there's cost reductions I can pass on, then that's helpful too. So.
And I know we had a lot of awesome questions today. And as Brian mentioned, sometimes when we get all of those questions, we might miss one or two. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you do have questions that didn't get answered. We can, forward those on to Andy and, and get you the answers that you're looking for. But overall, this was such an awesome just an awesome session. I learned so much and got to see so many cool, I don't know, this demo was just awesome. So thank you, Andy. Thanks. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been great. It's always nerve-wracking doing a live demo, but I'm happy to show it and hope it can help people out.
Oops, I think I put that in the chat. I was going to put a link to Andy on X in the
I can answer questions
chat.
there.
Yeah, and he's also on LinkedIn. You could just search him up there too. I was thrilled that you were willing to do this for us, Andy. I'm a fan and going to continue to use it and build out very cool things and encourage our agencies to do such a thing. So,
yeah, thanks for all your help too. You've been great with feedback and pushing Miles, and just kind of giving design feedback. So thank you very much for that.
Amazing. Well, I think we can close it out for today. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us or message Andy on X. And thank you all for joining. We won't have a session next month in August due to WordCamp US, but we will be continuing this Agency Partner Pulse series in September. So please feel free to join us. That registration page is up and running already, so you can get registered. We'll have some more info on what that'll be covering within the next couple weeks here. But yeah, please join us in September, and we look forward to seeing you. Brian, I think you got one more thing to cover.
Quick shout out, WordCamp US is happening next month. It is here in Phoenix, and from what I understand, Andy will be there, and I'm hoping that is true. I was hoping that was going to be true because I plan on sitting down with you and either buying you a coffee or a steak, either one. But so if you want an inside scoop, feel free to sign up for WordCamp US. Both of us will be there.
Sounds good. Happy to chat with anyone.
Amazing.
Great call out. Well, thank you all. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you soon.
All right. See you, everybody.
See ya. Thanks.